I received what I assume must have been a sarcastic comment from a guy or person called Embracing Logic 1744 the other day. It was in response to a video I put out about Tibet, so I thought maybe it's appropriate to revisit this one. I have done this before. But many people think I have no complaints about living in China, and that's not true. It's most certainly not true. I have many complaints. Wherever you are, welcome to another of my takes on China. Embracing Logic illogically said in a response to Tibet, good thing I live in China because China is absolutely perfect and has zero problems. In fact, all 1.4 billion Chinese love China because it's pure perfection, absolutely zero flaws, end of quote. Sarcasm? I'm sure. But seriously, if you want to know what I think is wrong with China, come and have a beer with me. If you want to believe what everyone else thinks is wrong with China, there are hundreds, probably thousands of vloggers online who will tell you, and they make a great living doing so. I prefer to look at the more positive side of China. Like all foreigners, I face many problems on a daily basis living in a foreign country. But as they don't unduly affect my life, and since I can't change them, I also know for a fact there are enough lies about China already that I tend to look at solutions rather than complaints. And I spend my days, every day, including today in fact, finding misinformation and lies about China. So it's a lot easier to correct them than it is to dwell on the things that I don't like and can't change. However, just to prove it isn't all rosy here, there are a couple of gripes. The visa laws, they're a pain in the neck, but two things about them make me not complain. One is that they're constantly changing for the better, so my complaints might already be out of date and I'd look pretty stupid making complaints about my family having trouble visiting me when all of a sudden they can on a 15-day visa-free trip. I also had complaints about being forced into retirement at 60 years of age because of the visas. But I've made a pretty good income from freelance writing and vlogging about China. It's hard to complain now. In fact, most months online and through being published, I actually earn more income than I did when I was working. And being over 60 years of age, I don't pay income tax on it. So that complaint turned out not too bad at all. The other is, even if it isn't changing, this is something that gets changed at a central government level, and my complaints here in Little Zhongshan aren't going to get anything changed. So what's the point complaining about something you can't change? There's no point in me being negative about the banking system either, and I hate it. The weather, which is often terrible, too hot and definitely too wet, or the traffic, which is mismanaged badly. The fact is, China gets its governance right most of the time for most of the people, and there's no need to be sarcastic or overly critical about that. The weather, it can't be changed. Despite it being 40 centigrade and 90% humidity, the best thing we can do is get into air conditioning. And running an air conditioner in my home here is a lot cheaper than in places like Australia, where it's necessary, or England, where it's probably not. We here sleep with the AC on most nights. I work from home in this room, a converted office spare bedroom with AC on, it's on now, and our electricity bill has never been more than 400 RMB for a month. That's about $55 or about 35 pounds for a month. Hardly worth complaining about. But when I'm outside and it's scorching hot, my shirt is wet and I can't get into AC, you'll hear me complain about the weather a lot. The banking system isn't going to be changed anytime soon, so there's no point complaining about something I can't fix. I have overseas payments made into my account every month, and I need to spend at least 40 minutes in the bank every time I want to convert it to local currency. I need to take my passport, I have my photo taken 3 times, I sign 5 pieces of paper, I enter my PIN number at least 3 times, and finally the money's put into my bank. The last time I went took 3 hours. Sometimes it's done in as little as 40 minutes. I hate it, but I can't change it. So what's the point in complaining about it? Just get on with it. Traffic is a terrible problem in almost every town and city I've been to. That's a lot. 10 years ago, rural China, there was no such problem. 20 years ago, even suburban China, there was no such problem. But hundreds of apartments, thousands, were built when people had bikes and motorbikes. Now there's nowhere for owners to park their cars, so the streets are crowded with parked cars, and lanes that should be used for the free flow of traffic or bikes are not free at all. This problem has been created by an increase of wealth over a very short period of time. But more and more roads are being built, and I hope eventually more parking solutions will be created. So no, it isn't perfect, but it most certainly isn't an oppressive dictatorial dystopia either. There's also one very important reason why I choose not to complain about the problems that we foreigners face here on a daily basis, and that's because I have a choice. At any time I can pack up, sell up, and move away. I could go to other places in Asia where I'd face the same or even more problems. I could return to the UK or Australia where I have citizenship of both. But the bottom line is that my life wouldn't be as rich as it is here. My costs would increase exponentially, and I'd be subject to far more authoritarian and dictatorial laws in either or both of those countries than I am subject to here in China. I made a choice. My choice is to remain in China as long as they want me. If I do nothing but complain, there's a good chance they wouldn't want me to continue living here. If I do nothing but find things to complain about, then I probably wouldn't want to live here, and I'd have to move. But if that was my personality, you could be assured that when I get to my next destination, I'd have just as many things to complain about, and life would be pretty sour anyway. So I prefer a more positive outlook. Call it rose-colored glasses if you like. But the fact is, China has given me a great life. I don't want to change it because of a few minor inconveniences. And that's why you don't see me complaining about China, and that's why it's not 100% perfect. It's a great place to live. It's better than the alternatives. So I'm staying where I am. I hope that answers the question for a lot of people who have doubts about me. It just happens to be my life is better here than it is somewhere else. Thanks once again for watching my take on China, and please don't forget check your subscribe button. The other day I watched as 5 or 6 subscribers just suddenly dropped away. Every time I refreshed, there was 3 or 4 less. It's happening a lot, but I'm still growing. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.